Okay, so I'm going to be repeating the claim from Eric that smoking bans have been beneficial to society. He had three claims. The first one, smoking bans in public have proven to cause smokers to quit. Second, smoking bans in public could save dollars and lives. And third, public places have proven to be more environmental friendly. Okay, so my main claim is that smoking bans actually are not beneficial. My first secondary claim to refute is the smoking bans in public have proven to cause smokers to quit. Well, actually, there was an economist who actually wrote an article. His name is Michael T. Owing, and he had a research associate, Katarina Berman, and they found that the correlations between smoking bans and the smoking behaviors examined are not quantitatively significant. In other words, the bans do not generally correlate with fewer people starting to smoke or continuing to smoke. They actually found out that the effects to get people to quit smoking are actually caused by taxing the cigarette itself instead of the actual banning of smoking in public. They found that actually 1% increase in the price of a pack of cigarettes is associated with approximately a 6% increase in the likelihood that a current smoker has attempted to quit in the past year. And then I'm moving on to the secondary claim, which is smoking bans in public could save dollars and lives. This is basically the heart of the whole entire argument, because the reason why we have bans in public places of smoking is due to the Environmental Protection Agency, who made a statistics to say that secondhand smoking causes harm, but the report was actually false, because state officials and private businesses that believe that secondhand smoking causes public health didn't realize that the information that was being used by an Environmental Protection Agency was completely misleading. The way they used their data was refuted by a federal judge, Osteen, who said that they cherry-picked their data and had manipulated it. He said it violated the Randon Act, which was the agency's authority for making the claim that secondhand smoke is wrong and hurts people. And what he said was the way that they used it, because their stats are based not even actually on secondhand smoke causes. The way that they went about it was their analysis was based on 11 U.S. studies that examined the risk of contracting lung cancer to non-smoking spouses married to smokers. A different matter altogether that has absolutely nothing to do with secondhand smoke in public places. None of the studies had anything to do with secondhand smoke in public places. And the Environmental Protection Agency also chose to omit entirely from its analysis 2 recent U.S. studies that had determined that passive smoking, secondhand smoking, was not a statistically significant health risk. Also, the Environmental Protection Agency forgot to realize how physicians go about tracking how much smoking can actually cause damage to your lungs. Non-smokers with the greatest risk of exposure to secondhand smoke actually inhale only a small fraction of 1 cigarette per day, 3/100th of a cigarette per day, which is equivalent to smoking around 10 cigarettes per year, which no scientific data says that 10 cigarettes a year will actually cause death or cancer to your lungs. And then on top of that, if you think about the millions of dollars that have been spent promoting belief in secondhand smoke as a killer, and more millions of dollars have been spent by businesses in order to comply with thousands of highly restricted bans, while personal choice and freedom have been denied of millions of smokers. Perhaps the most tragic part of all of that is that all that time and money could be spent in finding the real cause of lung cancer in non-smokers. Then my last part is public places have proven to be more environmentally friendly from the ban. Actually, cigarette companies have been coming up with electronic cigarettes, which work completely different from a regular cigarette. Basically, the way it works is the electronic inhaler vaporizes a liquid solution into aerosol mist, which completely eliminates all the toxins and pollutions that get released. Not only that, it benefits the public and the smoker itself, because the users can control the amount of nicotine, and some of the users actually don't even put nicotine in it at all, which eliminates the addiction. And that actually helps the users quit smoking. and that was done in a study in Italy, which research smokers were smoking the electronic cigarettes for about 6 months. And for every 40 hardcore smokers, 22 had, after 6 months, either quit or cut cigarette consumption by half. So basically, going back to the main claim that smoking bans in public have proven to cause smokers to quit, when you look at the reason why we even have the bans from the Environmental Protection Agency, you can see that their data was false and misleading to the public.
Okay, the structural things are pretty solid. You basically start off with a counterclaim, and I think you need to develop the counterclaim a little bit more. The clearest argument that you have is on the second point, so we'll get to that in just a second. On the first point, where you're talking about the problem with bans, I do think that there's a claim here, but you're presenting the claim mostly after you've presented the evidence, which is a little bit confusing. The argument basically comes down to that it's not the bans that produce these effects, it's the taxes that produce these effects. And so your argument here is that the bans that the advocate is talking about don't have the particular effect that the advocate's talking about. So that's the way you need to state that claim. Bans don't work. It's that simple. The second argument, though, I think is the more interesting one. It's the one that's developed the most, and that's an argument about the basic premise of these bans and what they exist for. And you basically go in for a strong attack on the EPA data that is the basis for concern about secondhand smoke. And you come straight out and say, in a very clear claim, the report is false, it's wrong, that the information is misleading. You've got evidence from a judge who says that the EPA violated the process that they're supposed to use. You've got historical studies that found no other kinds of relationship. You say that the basis of their study was this research on spouses, which is not comparable to the type of exposure that they're talking about. It's substantially different. I thought that that was pretty good. And this argument about how much a person in a passive kind of smoking situation in casual contact is likely to smoke, I thought you were pretty good on that. The one place where it seems like you needed some data here, you say that there's no data that suggests that 10 cigarettes a year is harmful to anybody. I don't know how anybody determines that. If you're quoting somebody, go ahead and quote them and cite them. I think that that would be a little bit clearer. The third point, it was just not clear to me how your argument about e-cigarettes addresses the issue that the advocate's talking about here, so that was a little bit confusing. All right, thank you.